Welcome to another edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. I am your hardcore host, Rick Ed, and I am joined by the hardcore crew. First, from the Skeldon Realms, he's the Lord Skeldon himself, Joseph Knight. Joe, what's shaking?
Yeah, where is that bastard? Oh, wait, that's me. Lance, go ahead and give him the email.
That's Joe. That's Golden from.
No, let's get that bullshit out of the way. I'm doing great. Beautiful spring day here where I live. So, but we got some hot topics, Rick, so let's go.
Yeah, and of course, over at Lance Moss TV, he's the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, what's shaking?
Oh, not too much. It's a nice day here too.
I know. I just had to shut my fan off, otherwise going to get a huge, loud background. It's like,
yeah.
Telling you, I know we're talking about weather, but right now, Jesus Christ, it's been gorgeous out all day. It was gorgeous last night, and please, thank God, the new weather's coming because I hate winter.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, let's get on to the topics. Last week, FTR won their the AEW Tag Team Championship for the second time against the Guns, which means now, thankfully, they're going to be staying within AEW. You know what, Joe? This was the right call because, we talk about ex-WWE wrestlers being in AEW, but I think FTR is one of those guys that exceptions that's helping the company.
Yes, you know what? And they're right now within both, well, should I say all three promotions out there, Impact, WWE, and AEW. FTR is the most polished tag team there is today. So I say, it's good that they decided to, well, we don't know yet. They're still working on their contracts, but you don't give a title to a team or to a singles person if they're about to leave. So I'm looking at this as kind of a extra added little bonus for them if they stay. So this is the right call. They became the tag team champions. Hell of a great team. And I think, there's so many teams now in AEW that they can actually fight against. And Rick, we also have, I think, the Lucha Brothers are the Ring of Honor tag team champions, and we've seen those two teams go at it. So it's just the beginning of a great series of matches that FTR can do.
Absolutely. I want to welcome Terry 3G into the chat room. Welcome, Terry. Lance, FTR, obviously they're not going away. They still have 6 weeks to re-sign their contract, but it looks like they're going to be staying for the long run.
Yeah, and also, let's face it, when the man with the bad dye job got back in power in WWE, it was pretty much a lock they were staying with AEW. Because I had heard rumors of what they were wanting to do. And they kind of want to run more indie shows and other places. So staying with AEW actually makes a hell of a lot of sense. Way more than going to New York.
You know what? I have to agree with you because if it was 6 months ago before Vince, muscled his way back in, we're going to talk about that in a bit, where Stephanie and Triple H was pretty much running it, I think they might have gone back.
Yeah.
But, obviously that did not happen. But another thing I do want to talk about, since we're talking about FTR, on a recent podcast, Dax stated that he would like to have a dream match at Wembley Stadium at All In between FTR and CM Punk. I guess he said that Punk wants to come back, so he is coming back, I guess, against the Elite. Now, Joe, you and I were talking about this off the show before things started, and we kind of agree that this is something that might not work too well at this juncture because Punk's just got to come back, so it's still, in his mind, still going to be fresh. And he's not really the forgiving type.
And you know what? You got so many egos in this one, all these individuals. You know that the FTR are going to back up Punk. That's their friend, and vice versa. You got the Omega, who's decent with Punk, but he's going to back his boys up, the Young Bucks. The Bucks don't really give a shit about Punk anyway, so you're kind of stuck here. This is basically, you could say this is a keep on dreaming match because this is never going to happen unless both sides can agree, and nobody's going to want to do the job. No one's going to take the do. You're not going to have Punk take a loss to the Bucks or Omega. You're not going to have. You might have FTR willing to take a loss, but since they're teaming with Punk, they don't want to add that to their resume, so they're going to not want to lose either. The Bucks don't want to lose, and Omega doesn't want to lose. So you're just going to have a sloppy match where people are just going to stiff shot one another. And I think all 6 guys know this will never happen unless everybody agrees to be cordial, to shake hands, move away, and that's it. But Rick, you go with so many egos in this. I don't think really the FTR has the egos. They're just defending their friend. So honestly, I'm just saying, keep on dreaming because this match will never happen.
I unfortunately I have to agree with you on some level, and I'd like to welcome real quick James Jones into the chat room. James agreed pretty much with every word that you said, but here's one thing: the Bucks and Omega, they have had no problems taking losses. I think the only real one person who has a problem taking losses is Punk. Now, obviously, Lance, they still have this huge heat between each other, so maybe they don't, Omega or the Bucks doesn't want to take a loss to Punk. So how do you remedy that?
Well, it ain't about being buddy backstage. That hell, there have been egos in wrestling as long as there've been wrestling. It's about being professional. And basically, all Tony Khan's got to say is, all right, this is Wembley. Y'all fuck up out there, you're gone.
And you know what? I think if Tony Khan strengthens up and steps up and puts his foot down and says, this is how we're going to play this match out, this is who's going to lose, this is how I'm going to win, and this is how the match is going to play out.
And honestly, since this is Wembley Stadium, they're going to need matches like this to sell that sumbitch out.
Yeah. There's, 80,000 people, I believe that's what it was.
80 or 100, something like that.
Well, the last time any wrestling event was there, and that was in 1992 for SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So what does that say about the significance of this upcoming event?
Right. What's real funny too is look where if they do go to Wembley, what made the WWE so big and popular there? The British Bulldog, Bret Hart. Just to name those 2 right off the bat. The AEW really doesn't have that British, and I know this is minor, but you don't really have that main guy that the British people. It's just like anybody, in any country, if you want your main guy to be represented and be in a good match. I don't know if they really have that in AEW. If this was Mexico, of course they have the Lucha Bros and they have. But what stole the show was a British Bulldog going back, winning the Intercontinental title from Bret Hart. So unless they have something big like that, I don't know, Rick. Unless they, like Cherry 3G says, unless they have some UK talent over there, I just don't see it.
Well, actually, we're going to get to that in a second because there is a someone who over New Japan Pro Wrestling who does want to wrestle, who's looking for a match. But we're going to get to that in a minute. I just want to have a quick shout again to James Jones. Says, I don't know, man. No one can get bigger than the Bucks, and that's what he's noticed. And I agree that the Bucks are definitely huge. And again, if you're huge fans, that's understandable. He also said, I think there's going to be some UK talent while there. And again, this is another topic we're going to. But I want to move on to one of the other topic. I want to talk about Vince McMahon. The world's biggest secret's out. Guess what, guys? Vince is back in full power. Like, we didn't see this coming. Who did not see this coming, guys?
Stevie Wonder could have saw this coming.
Hey, you got Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, Ronnie Millsap, and anybody else who's blind could have seen this. And you got to love his little porn stash that he has.
Oh, my God, it's horrific.
Damn.
And then that that bad dye job.
Yeah.
Who the hell saw Vince come out of the whatever dye bathroom or whatever he did the dye job and went, yeah, that's a good look.
Let me ask you, does that mean he's having a senior life crisis?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
You know, he almost looks like Lee Van Cleef from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He was the
damn.
bad. What? No. And I respect Lee Van Cleef, you know. But God, Vince, you know.
Okay, hold on. Now I want to move on a little bit more with this. Now, obviously, the Triple H still has the title of head of creative. Vince still has the final say. Last week
on his brand, in his brand.
Yeah, pretty much. Last week on Raw, McMahon was backstage where he made several last-minute changes. McMahon was not on SmackDown the previous week, but the roster's still on edge because they know that he's a phone call away and he can call up and change shit on the fly. But so far, things have been all right. However, McMahon is now a minority shareholder, and he's now bound to WWE's policies like every other employee. This is what was said in the Hollywood Reporter, and it was from a representative from Endeavor. He said, McMahon continued employment shall be conditioned on compliance with the company's conflict of interest and code of conduct, as well as WWE's equal opportunity and non-harassment policy. That pretty much says that Vince, if he so much as steps out of line, because WWE's about zero tolerance, he's gone. I hope he is. Now, Joe, you said that he's a shareholders. He may have all the shares, but it doesn't mean he has to work for the company.
Oh, agree. You know, he's let's get everything straight here. He is the executive officer of the WWE brand, not of Endeavor. He serves the WWE brand. He's now under the microscope. He's right on the radar now. This is not something that they want to really have an issue with coming at them. And the way this is done, you can easily see that Ari, who's actually the owner of Endeavor, he's probably looking at Vince and saying, if I see even your zipper unzipped, you're done. Because they don't need that scandals. You know, they want to make money. They acquired WWE. They have it now with their brand, with UFC. And I think they also have a little bit other brands as well. But if this gets out of line, they could tell Vince, you're done, because he has, I believe, 49 shares, and Ari has 51. So that's easy for them.
The WWE has 49%. Vince still has a majority of that 49%, but not all of it. There are still others in the business and the companies that have their own shares. But I want to move on real quick. James Jones says, yeah, Vince is going through some kind of life crisis, and he also said he needs to step away from Triple H. He's doing good. And James, everybody agrees that Triple H was doing great, but unfortunately, when it comes to Vince, he has to have that power. He has to have control. Lance, your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, let's face it. Vince don't know how to behave his damn self backstage. So, Ari probably has a link on YouTube of Vince saying, "You're fired," just waiting for that sumbitch to step out of line.
That would be funny too, actually. But
what's this, pal? Click. You're fired.
No, he'd have to do the Triple H one because Vince McMahon can't fire himself.
Well,
if he send him a link, yeah, he could.
It's like, what the hell are you guys doing in my office? Oh, we're just installing the camera, Vince. Wave to Ari. Go ahead. Hi.
Oh God.
They like Spacely from what's it, Jetsons? Jetson, wake up and do your job.
Yeah. All right, I want to move on now. We talked again about Wembley Stadium, and it's gonna be in London. And we talked about wanting some, British wrestlers. And one wrestler spoke up, and it's gonna be William Ospreay, who's into IWGP World Champion, expressed interest in being a part of the pay-per-view. Ospreay has worked with AEW a handful of times in the past. Not to mention, he knows plenty of other wrestlers who's worked in New Japan who's currently in AEW. it's not clear if AEW's going to pick up Ospreay, but Lance, I think it's the right call too.
Yeah. And this just hit me on who else they could just bring in kind of as a nice little here and there. The Davey Boy Smith Jr.
I think it was a walk-on maybe, but I don't know if they want him as a wrestler. I don't know if fans, at least today's fans, would get behind that. I don't know, Joe. What about you?
You know, for the pop, for him making an appearance,
Yeah.
you know, it would work. You know, now, you know, Davey Jr. he's not a bad wrestler. He just never got the breaks. And I think if he would have started in a tag team like his father did as part of a New British Bulldogs with somebody from England and him, you know, being trained, I think that would have worked, kind of keeping the legacy like they did with the Hart Foundation with Natty, Teddy Hart, and him as well, Davey Boy Smith Jr. I think this would have worked, but he's been in so many promotions and never really got to go because no one can capitalize on the guy. So I think if he would have even now, if he would just show up and say, "Hey guys, I represent, you know, England. Here I am. Jolly good show, everybody. You know, here we go. Chip, chip, chitty-o, and hail to the king. You know, God bless whatever queen we have. You know, and I think it'll be a pop just for him being there." But, you know, I like that. I didn't even think of Ospreay. And can you imagine him and Kenny Omega or him and MJF, two world champions? You know, obviously no one's going to lose their belt, but it would be a hell of a match just in that level between these two guys.
Yeah, you know what? Absolutely. And, you know, there's other wrestlers from Japan, from the UK. Sorry, guys, little brain freeze there. Jamie Hayter, who's the AEW Women's Champion, she's over there. And I know, Joe, how much you love this wrestler. Saraya is also from the UK. So.
Oh, let's not sink the UK even more now.
Well.
You know, and let me, for everybody who was, Saraya is a very attractive girl. If you've seen her without that stupid goth makeup and the big lipstick that makes her lips look like they're fucking gigantic, you know, she's a very attractive girl, a woman. But as a wrestler and as a mouthpiece for a wrestler, she is lousy in this day and age. She's a relic. She's like, you know, in the same line of freaking hell, easy. Moolah, and was probably 10 times better than her. You know, even when she was old before she passed away. Saraya just, you know, she cries, she whines, she wants a special attention, and that's what I can't stand. You know, and her, "Oh, I'm back," and all this and that. You know, she should have gone to porn because that's an easier lifestyle. She'll be on her back and not have to worry about somebody counting to 3. It'll be over her head if somebody did. So that's where my thing is with Saraya. Is she a good-looking woman? Yes. Should she be in wrestling? Fuck no. Stupid little British slut.
Don't hold anything back, Joe. Please.
You know what? Here's another one. Jamie Hayter. Now that's a fucking babe. Now that's someone who could represent. She should.
Well, she's the AEW Women's Champion.
Absolutely, and she should break freaking Saraya's neck. Oops, I'm sorry. Mercedes over there told me to do it to you.
Well, you know, I'm sure that Tony Khan is obviously looking to for this whole pay-per-view event, and I would not have a doubt if they bring in more British talent within the next couple of a couple of months. So it's something definitely gonna just have to keep an eye out for. All right, moving on. WWE. There were rumors that WWE had put a freeze on the hiring of new agents. This is due to the recent merger with Endeavor. Names like Jay White, AOP, Nick Atlas, and Brian Cage were just a few names who were expected to sign with the company, but it didn't happen. According to Ringside News, WWE stated they never had a freeze hiring policy. So, as to why these wrestlers were not, signed, it's just, I guess, business as usual, I suppose. But now, Joe, um, this whole freeze thing. I mean, I didn't even hear about it. I didn't know it was a thing, But obviously, when you talk about a merger, you want to talk about saving money. But so obviously, WWE has no problem signing new people.
Yeah, and right now I'm gonna say this: Brian Cage did sign a new long-term contract with AEW, so he's out of the free agent business. So he's now steady with AEW. Now, what they will do to him, I don't know. They haven't done any wonders for him. I think when we spoke about this off the air, I have to agree with Lance. They're not gonna their talent base. I think it's set. They don't really need to bring anybody in. They have the NXT people they can bring in to replace some of these folks that are getting injured, who are already well past their time to leave. So I don't think you're going to see a freeze in talent. I think you're going to probably see a freeze in bringing in new talent from outside. So I think that's all you're going to see. But I think that you're looking at also the office part and the road agents parts. I don't think they're going to really do that because, like any new brand in a company or division in a company, you want to save money. You want to prove that you can make a profit, not lose it. Ask Eric Bischoff how that was when Jim Herd ran WCW for Turner. So you want to save money. You want to cut back on expenditures because I'm sure that's another thing too we never talked about. WWE probably has a set budget now, not like before. Probably already says, "Hey, you guys get this is what you can. This is your borderline. You ain't going above this." So obviously they got to make cuts to keep the people they got and to bring in talents like Cena, Lita, Trish, and all these other people.
Yeah. Speaking of Trish, did you see Trish turn heel this past Monday on Raw?
Yep.
I was paying attention to her boobs.
Oh, okay, but you did see Raw, I take it then.
No, I just paid attention to her picture with boobs.
Oh, well, you know what? Who doesn't? Well, long story short, what had happened was Lita and Becky were supposed to face off, defend their titles. Well, it was Lita got attacked from behind by a mystery opponent, and Trish Stratus offered to, jump in for them. So what happens? Okay, they go in the match, and then Trish gets pinned like a roll-up pin easy. And Becky kind of gets up and looks like, what the hell? But she kind of shook it off. She raised her hand, and then all of a sudden she gets a chick kick to her face. And I think, Joe, that's why they were trying to save the whole match from WrestleMania. They wanted that win just to have them get the loss.
Yeah, might as well just do the whole finger point of doom. I guess, to me, it doesn't make any sense. Maybe they want to redo the Lita Stratus match, like in another show. Because if you look at the two, both the girls are, I mean, hell, they're grown women already, in their maybe 40s. But Trish has more, I think she's more athletic than Lita at this point. Lita's a little sloppy now. So I think maybe because, I don't know, it could be the star power. Maybe they don't have that star power. Everybody's bored of the same product and they want to see these nostalgia legends come back. What's the payoff? Lita versus Trish. Okay, dial back to the 90s and you could see that. Far, far better. You can even go dial back on YouTube and watch Lita almost break her neck, tossing, jumping out of the ring. So, Rick, I think this is just maybe to build up for SummerSlam, just to have these two go at it. Just, I don't know, maybe just for nostalgia's sakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And over in the chat room, Terry3G did mention that Davey Boy Smith Jr. is currently signed with MLW. Now, I don't know if AEW is working with MLW. Obviously, they've worked with plenty of other indies, unlike WWE. But I don't know if they have any affiliations or respects.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you this: I think they have done work with MLW because a lot of the current roster is from there. Best one is the AEW World Champion. MJF, he's been in there. He was in MLW, midgets, losers, and whiners. So it's a good promotion. I shouldn't make fun of them, but they're a good promotion. But yeah, so they've. And I think he even said too, was Davey Boy in NWA as well? Yes, maybe even in NWA at the moment. Well, what's the NWA at this point?
uh, well, unless we like Smashing Pumpkins or whatever, they actually had a Smashing Pumpkins concert coming around, and Jen jokes at me all the time. She's like, "Oh, you want to go see Smashing Pumpkins?" I'm like, "No, I'm all set. I love rock. Don't get me wrong, but I hate Smashing Pumpkins." Anyways, Lance, you have any final thoughts on this?
Well, I heard the payoff was going to be Trish versus Becky.
Yeah, and that could probably happen as soon as Backlash.
Yeah.
So, I think that is another strong possibility. All right, you know what? Well, let me move on. Eric Young was hired back from the WWE back in November, but he's been MIA ever since. He's not been seen. He was released back in 2020 during the pandemic, and now that he's gone, he has a full contract, but he's not been on TV, and he's, from what other reports are saying, he's not even on scene for a match, and I don't know, Lance, that's kind of weird, don't you think, for a wrestler to be getting paid and not do nothing?
Yeah, hell, before we came on air, I even said that, well, this is kind of a WCW deal with them signing them and sitting their asses at home. But, well, hell, when I saw this in the HWR chat room, I thought somebody posted an old article or something because I didn't know he was with the fucking company.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't even know either, because I was just buzzing through the news, and I'm like, Eric Young not being used in WWE. I'm like, he was released, and last I knew, he was at Over Impact, but he finished up in early 2022, and WWE signed him right back. So, Joe, what do you make of that whole situation?
Well, he's got the Iron Sheik contract. When Sheik was wrestling in WCW, and they offered him a deal, I'm going to stay home and just going to collect all my money. And then the contract rolled over for another year, and he got more money. Let's face it, Eric Young, I respect the guy. He's been through a lot in the business. But what can you do with the guy? He's done it all. He's not physically imposing like a Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins. How can I put this in a nice way?
He has two characteristics. He plays the weird, crazy guy, or he plays like the technician, and almost like Bryan Danielson.
But he doesn't have the charisma of a Bryan Danielson.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm not saying that.
Nor the voice.
No, I agree. And the funny thing is, he had a reality show and he was working for before he even came to WWE, and it was on I think it was the same channel. This is when Dixie Carter was running it. That's how far back it went. And he just seemed like a really cool dude. He was doing like his own like pranksters and shit.
Type thing.
Yeah.
Wilderness type shit.
It was I vaguely remember it was like I only watched it like once or twice, but
yeah,
he just seemed like a really cool dude, and very laid back as opposed to any kind of character he's tried. He's tried to be the quiet type. He tried to be the crazy type. He tried just to be and nothing seems to stick, unfortunately, or nothing that WWE is interested in anyway.
So. Well, in pretty much in any wrestling company, Eric was great in Impact. He excuse the dog. Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't see anything out of Eric Young of today that can benefit the company. On the indie level, even people will go, meh. So I don't know, unless they incorporate him into a new Wyatt family because he has the beard. He's, you know, I don't know, Eric Wyatt or something, or Eric, whatever. But I don't know. I just don't see it.
Yeah. Terry 3G actually said that Eric Young's been in the WWE for 3-4 months now, and it was rumored to be getting back with Nikki Cross for the previous group. I believe that's Insanity or Sanity.
Yeah.
But he was also rumored to be part of the Funhouse, Bray Wyatt's new clan that's kind of like fell apart. But it's kind of a very weird that they would have a wrestler that they just wouldn't use, even if they squashed him and time and time and time again. But they don't even seem to be interested in doing even that for the moment.
Well, Rick, that's been WWE's main problem for years. They hire a certain amount of talent, and they think it's a great idea. Yeah, let's get this guy in, and then all of a sudden, oh shit, what do we do with this bastard? That's basically what you're looking at from Eric Young. He came in, he was very hot in Impact. He's done a lot. He did really good with Sanity. Now it's kind of like, okay, this is 2023. What do we do with the guy?
I hate to say this, but if they ain't gonna work him on TV, anybody know if he's trained anybody?
Offhand, I can't say whether he has or he hasn't. But you know what? That was another thing. They could keep him as a producer, or maybe have him working the perform.
To NXT.
That's another thing. So if they've yet to even figure out where to put him, even in NXT, then WWE really creative has more problems than we thought. So hopefully we can see him soon, or like he has some kind of a future in the company. Moving on, as we all know, that Santana has been out of action with a knee injury. This is what he suffered from a blood and guts match. Prior to getting hurt, Santana teased leaving AEW and indicated that he'd be a free agent after September 22. So it's possible that the deal extended because of his time injured. It's like when you're injured, that's it. Your contract freezes. Very rarely do you get out of it after you're being injured, unless if you fight it or other things. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. Also, Conan confirmed that Santana has been at odds with longtime tag team partner Ortiz. While Conan did not get into details, reports have suggested that it was due to Santana wanting out of the company. So, now I'm going to tell you, I really loved Pride and Powerful. I thought they were an excellent tag team. They never won the tag team titles, unfortunately. But I really hope that these two can rekindle, put things aside and get back together. Because I think once Santana's cleared up, I have no reason to see why they could be a future AEW tag teams. Lance, what's your thought?
Yeah, but honestly, it just depends on what the major issue between Ortiz and Santana is. If it was him wanting to go to greener pastures, then there might not be a yes. But if it is, I would love to see Santana and Ortiz actually hold those belts.
Absolutely, and even if they didn't go for AEW, they can go to Ring of Honor, and they still have that still promise. Joe, your thought?
Lucha Brothers versus Santana and Ortiz would be fucking awesome.
That would be a great match. Joe, final thoughts?
The only problem with that match is nobody will know who to deport.
Oh, come on, man. Jesus. Fucking horrible. And here I thought we were going to go a whole show without you being a
Can we expect anything less from Joe?
No.
I'm just kidding. I do. You know what? I remember Santana and Ortiz when they were part of the LAX team with Hernandez and Homicide. God, when they first came in and they were part of Jericho, the group with Jericho,
the inner circle.
Yeah, they were great. They had the move sets, they had everything. They looked great. Honestly, sometimes even, and I've seen it in the business where guys don't sometimes tag team partners will get at each other's nerves. To stay so long as a tag team, it's a testament to the individuals. Look, even the Road Warriors had issues. The Hart Foundation, the Bulldogs, everybody who's ever been in a tag team on a long stretch would eventually want to break away and do something else.
Yeah.
So, and this is where a lot of, and if one wrestler feels comfortable in his promotion and the other one wants to leave, you're going to have animosity between the guys. So if throw you a quick bone here, back in the 87, late 87, 88, the Can-Am connection, Tom Zink and Rick Martel, they were a promising great tag team. They were going to become tag team champions to beat the Hart Foundation. Zink decided he wanted to go to greener pastures because of issues or something with money, which, hey, that's your preference. And he went to AWA and got us Bill Solar goods there. And Martel teamed with Santana, Strike Force, and they won the tag title. So sometimes, and I believe Martel and Zink had issues with each other right after that. So since he left, so I think Rick, we're looking at sometimes this just happens between tag teams, and I do hope they come back together because if there is one team that can actually give, and I'm not putting any other team low, but I'm tired of seeing the Lucha Bros. I'm tired of seeing the good family, good brothers, whatever the fuck, the good neighbors with Orange Cassidy. You know, I want to see
Best friends.
best friends, butt fuckers. Let
The
them be
Good
whatever.
Brothers are Anderson and Gallows.
Yeah, them too. Yeah, get them out of there. But anyway, I would love to see Pride and Powerful come back and challenge FTR. That will be a big pay-per-view match. You know, no Inner Circle, no Jericho's, no this, as themselves. And if you want to really do the extreme, go bring Conan in to manage them for one night. So I think it will be such a great shame if these two never got back together. But this is professional wrestling. Shit's happen.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're talking about how they have at odds. Obviously, Santana's been out for several months, almost what, like 6 months, something like that. So you would figure that maybe whatever issues they may have had, maybe they might have kind of patched things up or kind of let the waters settle, so to speak. So I really hope they do push things over, but only that's gonna be strictly between Santana and Ortiz. Only those are the only ones that's gonna make this work or fail,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So we're gonna move right along now, and there were rumors that Bayley was looking to leave the WWE. This was based on the fact that the match was pulled on Raw last week at the very last minute. She then posted several cryptic tweets which added fuels to the rumor. But more recent reports have suggested that Bayley's tweets could be a hint of Damage Control breaking up, which is her newest faction. It's only been, what, like 5 months? What?
SummerSlam.
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah. So what's with WWE wanting to break up, these factions? We've seen this over and over and over again. And it seems like right now Damage Control is on a good streak. The only group they have yet to break up is the Bloodline, and that's just they're on borrowed time, Joe.
Well, and they're family, so you're not going to see that. God, I look at that picture that you post up of Damage Control. Please keep some fucking trees away from Bailey's woodchuck teeth. She looks like she can chuck wood. She can and eat up the fucking trees.
How much wood could a Bailey chuck if a Bailey could chuck wood?
Yeah, right. And I'm sure this is the problem with WWE since going back many, many, many generations. They don't understand when they have something good. They never focus on seeing the long-term deal. That's the problem with WWE. When it comes to tag teams, they break up the tag teams. When they see a faction, it's here today, gone tomorrow, nobody cares. It's the almost instant gratification. Here's your faction. Okay, 3 months later, that's it. Bye. no rhyme or reason. And then everybody goes along like they all have amnesia. Like, who? Bailey, who? You know, if you're going to break them up, never put them together in the first place. You know, this is WWE's weakest part of their company when it comes to creative. And I'm sure creative is a fucking bunch of great fucking morons. Just got out of college as writers who write television. Well, let's get Will and Grace in here. Let's do that. Let's bring in fucking Carol O'Connor and let's be Archie Bunker.
Wait, that could actually work. As un-PC as Carol O'Connor was, that could work.
Yeah, right. Like, Rick, this is
you.
Can you imagine the girls at ringside would be dingbats? And gee, I'm showing my age. I actually grew up watching that show.
I did too on TV Land.
Thank you, Lance. You just made me feel fucking really old. But yeah, Rick, this is WWE's problem. Always have been. I don't see if ever it's going to change. That's why you saw the whole Lita, Trish Stratus, Becky Lynch breakup. Now you're going to see this breakup. You might as well. That's why there's no dominant tag teams. The Bloodline's the only thing because they're all family and they don't want to get the Rock mad or Alpha and Sika. Imagine if it was anybody else. They would have broken them up a long time ago. So that's creative
Usos,
for you.
But Usos have actually been together since they started. They're probably the only tag teams in WWE that's lasted, maybe I'll say, with the exception of maybe the Hardy Boys.
No, the Hardy Boys had a split.
They split and they came back.
Yep.
But
again,
split
the
and came
Usos
back for a period of time.
The Usos are family. You're not gonna, even if you short-term break them up, that you're gonna put them together and keep them again for the long run because that's family. They're not. Like I said, if it's not that and somebody putting in their ear, chicka chicka chicka, hey, keep the bloodline together. Chicka chicka chicka. If they gotta lose and break up, make them go off television as a vacation. Then bring them back. It's stupid.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna move on. Actually, wait, Lynch. Did you get to talk in this? What's your thoughts on the Damage Control possibly breaking up? Now, again, this is not a fact. We don't know what these mean. First, those reports said that Bayley's going to leave. Now they're saying that, Damage Control is breaking up. But we don't know that for fact. But what's your take on all this?
Well, on the Monday after Mania has taught me something. Right now, in this point in history, anything you hear about possible backstage rumors in WWE, whether they're doing firing this person wants their release or whatever, half of it's probably bullshit, and the other might be true, or they might be working it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
because remember, Mr. McMahon was not supposed to be anywhere near creative on that Monday. Where was he?
Nah, right at creative. And again, that was a topic we talked about, and I'm sure that's gonna be things that coming down the line. Hopefully, McMahon will realize that he has other things to worry about other than creative. But a lot of people are not happy about it. So, moving on. While the match between Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania should have ended the feud, obviously it didn't. This past Monday on Raw, Dominic clocked Rey with a chain during his match against Finn Balor. Rey was a recent guest on Logan Paul's podcast, and he teased the idea of a hair versus mask in hopes to settle the feud. Now, we already knew that years ago, Rey Mysterio had to lose his mask. This is when he was over in WCW. I forget who it was against.
Jericho.
Jericho, thank you very much. So I remember him having to take his head off, and I remember him looking in the mirror and he at the camera, and he was saying, "I'm sorry, Mama, I'm sorry," and he was in tears. He did not want to take it off. So my question now is, why would he want to take it off now? I mean, Joe, for him to put his son over on that climate, on that level, I mean, what do you think that's even a possibility?
Of course. You got to remember one thing. Back when he lost that mask, he agreed to it. They brung it up to him and hey, you know what? You're a good looking guy. How would you want to show your face and give it a shot and see? He was all for it.
From what I understood, he was not too. They kind of had to twist his arm.
They badgered his ass.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's what happens in wrestling. But you know what? If he's willing to do that, I honestly, Dominic needs to get that big win, And I know him and Ray, obviously he's not gonna. They're gonna want to keep the storyline, but I think that you're gonna start seeing Ray's swan song coming down. And what big match could it be than to have Dominic and Ray mask versus hair, especially right now since Dominic is sporting that Eddie Guerrero haircut. You know, honestly, if Dominic lost this match, then his career is, it's going to slump down like the rest of Judgment Day. I think what should happen if this happens to be a SummerSlam, I could see that Ray actually takes the mask off. So, and then just announce his retirement. Maybe do one more retirement match. And if Dominic wins, he's retired for good. If Ray wins, then Dominic has to go into mental therapy or something and get mental health.
Well, I was gonna say if they really wanted to end it, I would have to guess that it would come down to where Dominic would lose a certain match, and then Judgment Day just turns on him, and of course that's where Ray comes up and still has his back, despite the fact that he's his father, and they have one more last match against the Judgment Day, and then Ray goes off into the sunset. But we don't know what WWE's plans are. We don't even know if this is an idea. This is something that he just tossed around as an idea. For all we know, W Creative could say, yeah, that's not happening. Because
it's unique how it takes the the talent themselves to come up with ideas and says, hey, look, you guys are not batting 1,000 here. How about we do this? And oh, well, you know what? That sounds like a fucking great idea. So who knows?
And it would fit well with the story because how many times has Dominic's taken Ray's mask off? If throughout this whole, since the feud started, we've seen him walk down with Ray's mask. We've seen him try to pull it off a couple of times. So, I think it would fit in. Lance, what's your thoughts on this whole situation?
It would, honestly, if Ray lost, it would probably be his last match in the company. Because Ray is that much of a Lucha Libre traditionalist. You take that mask off, in that company, you're done.
All right, that's like I said, this is something I'd like to see. Will it happen? I don't know. As to who would win, I wouldn't want to know. I want to be shocked on that one.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that. We're gonna wrap up this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. I want to thank Terry 3G and James also for jumping in the show. Also, keep in mind on the weekends that you can listen to Mr. and Mrs. A's podcast. Joe, why don't you tell them all about it?
Yeah, definitely. Check out BC Games and More every Saturday or Sunday night at 9:30 on Facebook. When they go live, join BC and Mrs. A as they show off their retro collection. They do game retro games. They also do little giveaways. So you want to check them out and tell them BC Games and More. Just let them know the HWR crews sent you guys their way. So I'm like floundering here today. But yep, and for me, check me out on Scoldrens Realm, hashtag Scoldrens Realm. I am on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I do games from yesterday and today, from pretty much consoles and PC. I am starting the Mega Man series possibly tonight, so make sure you check it out. Just do the hashtag Scoldrens Realm.
And for those of you again who are listening, please hit that like button. show the subscribe, and listen to more of HWR. We are here every Wednesday night at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Lance, you're over at Lance Moss TV. What's going on over there?
Well, every Tuesday night we go live on Lance Moss TV and friends. We never know who's going to show up. And I am working on finishing up the offset hollow body build, but, well, stuff happens.
Yeah, it does, unfortunately. So, for the Hardcore Crew, I'm your Hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.
Buy this shirt!
Yeah.